welcome to our meetup, Data Visualization Zurich. Thank you all for being here. And yeah, so something new today, as you've probably noticed, we are now using Zoom instead of Crowdcast. We decided to try it out today because we had a few complaints about like image quality that wasn't always the best and some technical difficulties during the last meetup. So today we'll use Zoom. Let's see how it works. And if you have any comments or feedback about this, don't hesitate to let us know after the presentation. So a few words about the meetup. So I am Luc Guillemot. I'm an interaction engineer at Interactive Things. So I do data visualization and front-end development. And I co-organize this meetup with Benjamin Wiederkehr, who is also with us tonight and will be moderating the chat. And we organize this meetup to foster a community around data visualization in Zurich, because data visualization is like a lot of people from different disciplines and backgrounds do data viz, like from journalism, design, development, business analysis, etc. So we hope to have a wide range of perspectives on data visualization, and we want this meetup to be a space where we can share knowledge and advance knowledge around data visualization, and maybe this leads to collaborations and projects together. If this happens, please let us know. You're really curious about it. But for today, for our presentation, we have the great pleasure to have with us Julia, Mia, and Rouven Bühlmann, who will talk with us about cartographic projections and the tool that they have created called Worldmapgenerator. So Julia Mia is a graphic designer and also researcher, and Rouven, I think you're more the developer for this project. Yeah, but they will definitely tell us more about this. If you want to ask questions, you can do so at any time using the Q&A button, and also if you want, like after the presentation, which will last about 40 minutes, we will have 20 minutes for Q&A. So you can like use the button, or also if you want to take the stage and ask your question by speaking, you can also raise your hand, and I will allow you to turn on your microphone. But we can see this after the presentation also. So without further comment, I leave the stage to you, Julia and Rouven.
Okay, do you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay,
I can see your screen.
Then welcome everybody to the to our presentation of the Worldmapgenerator. First of all, thanks to Benjamin and also to Luc for the invitation, and also the great moderation and as well organization. So everything was really organized very well. And before I start, I would like to mention some things. So we did not insert some videos. This is because of the technical issues we had, or in the last, also not we had, were there in the last meetup presentations. We don't want to have performance problems. What we do is that we go actually to our website to demonstrate some things. And as Luc already said, we have around 40 minutes presentation, and I start with a little introduction. Then I come to the idea of the project. Then I talk about projections, and then at the end, Rouven is talking about technologies. And afterwards, we are very happy to get some questions and also some comments for sure. So then I'll start with the introduction that you know who we are. So first of all, I'm a graphic designer. I did later then more education, and I did my PhD, a lot of artistic research at University Bern. And I founded, meanwhile, my graphic design studio around 2012. And what I have to mention when I present this project is that there were two versions of this project before this version. These were actually research projects. And what I have to mention too is the book I wrote. It's actually my PhD work. It's on projections. So there is a bit more information about this topic.
My name is Rouven. I started my professional career at the Zürich University of Arts as a student of interaction design. That was already a few years ago, 2009 until 2012. What I realized was that I really like coding, but also visual design, and I wanted to continue that after my bachelor degree. So I started working at agencies, first more in advertising, and then I got the privilege to also work, for example, at Dreipol, where I could do some more projects that were more long-term and a little bit bigger. And that was very cool time. And then 2019, I founded my own small company called Adorable Squid, where I'm doing some front-end development and also as much as I can, currently 40% projects that are non-profit, that are especially fun or are important to me. All those three things I found also at the Worldmapgenerator, and that's how I ended up in the project.
Just a quick glance that you see the fields where we work. So actually, I said it already, it's graphic design, storytelling, mentoring or teaching, then artistic research, and because of the topic for sure also parts of cartography, and then web design and data visualization.
My part is mostly technical. So I did the front-end development, but also all things that also go in that big bucket called technology, like domains, server infrastructure, and also interaction design and interaction development together with Julia. And I'm also doing some prototyping, data visualization, and a little bit of tutoring and consulting.
What that means for our project is, okay, we have intersections, as we already mentioned, but I had the lead of the project and I had the initial idea, and I had the main part of the concept and the web design and also some communication issues.
Yeah, and our intersection, as we already said, was many discussions about the user interface, UX questions, and I think that brought the project forward and was also a lot of fun to discuss. And I could also fill in the gaps where aesthetic design obviously lacks, by design, of course. And yeah, that I think our collaboration was cool and on that part, so we could enhance each other's focus.
Yeah, and work very efficient.
Yeah.
So this picture is actually important to me because it represents the project in a different way. I have to say this is a self-initiated project. It's founded by some foundries, and for us it was always very important that this project should challenge us, but we just do what we think makes sense, and really tried our best. Our work was very, let's say, close somehow in our life, and it was not an 8 to 5 job. 9 to 5. Yeah, however. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. That's really important to mention. So then I start with the project. So why do we need an unconventional world map, and what's the world map generator good for? Here I would like to start with this world map. So some years ago, I contemplated a world map like this, and I was confused about some things, like for example, some sizes and shapes of the landmass. So when we start with the size, when you compare, for example, Greenland with Australia, you see it in numbers. So Greenland should be a third of Australia, or something like this. You see my cursor, right? No, yes. Yeah. So should have this size, and it's also very interesting that in an atlas in Argentina, South America is depicted that small, but it's not just the size, it's also the shape of these countries. I mean, actually, I'm looking always to Russia. It should be way more curved, and also Alaska is really distorted, and we don't talk about Canada. But it's not just that, it's also the vertical center. I mean, when you have a globe, the vertical center is actually the equator, right? But here very often, or in a lot of world maps, the equator is below the vertical center. So this is the equator. So you see something is not very representative for the world in let's say conventional world maps. So now you think, okay, this is just one example, but I made I made a research concerning conventional world maps, and I studied different world maps. For sure, there are other projections and there are other proportions, but at the end, you could say there are image patterns, and there is the idea of conventional world maps where the centering shifts mostly just along the equator. Yeah. And you could also say, okay, this what I showed you now, this is just printed old stuff, but this is a brand new screenshot from our release from Google Analytics. And here you see the Mercator projection. You see the same image proportions, Greenland huge, Alaska like that. And this would be the vertical center. So it's also new technologies. And this brings me also to the relationship between world map and world view. So in every world map, there is a world view, and in every world view, or every world view is responsible for the world map again. So it's a bit vice versa. And what's interesting is this article here is actually quite new. It was very big in the States, but also all over Europe in the media. There were some researchers who stated that there is now a new world projection, very equal and fair and with less distortions. 4 years before, there was this Japanese designer. He stated, not the same, but almost the same, with another projection, the autograph projection. So there is always this this idea of one best standard or one best world map. This brings us also to a social political issue. So here you see a map from the 1930s from a Hungarian atlas for politics, economy, and labor movement. For sure, it's Soviet Union is highlighted in red, But you see also because of the projection, the Soviet Union is distorted like, and is huge. So it's like a bit the enemy from the east or something like that. And also just because I came across, it was a documentary I watched some days ago about in the German TV about deadly exports, arms managers on trial. So you just see again the infographics with the Worldmapgenerator projection in the background. And just very, very quick, because I like it a lot, and I guess it's very interesting from where it comes from. So in every epoch, we had a certain world view and a certain world map with certain image patterns caused somehow, or sometimes by projection. So I start here with in the antiques, it's like the Ptolemaic world map with its projection. Then we have a little another scheme orientated towards the east. It's in the Middle Ages, the Ebsdorfer world map from the early 13th century. And then we go back to a Waldseemüller world map from the Renaissance. It's actually a further development of the Ptolemaic world map with more, for sure, more geographical information. So when we released, there were some comments on our website.
Like, for example, Tante Kette, who wrote 50 minutes on the, I was 50 minutes on the site. Now my whole world view was destroyed.
Or Robert Poriferen made a Philippines-centered world map, poor North America.
Or the mountain who wrote Africa is bigger than US, China, India, Japan, and Europe, which we not sure if that's correct, but he certainly discovered a new worldview for himself with the tool.
So, and actually this question about worldviews and world maps brought me to the idea, or a research question actually. So my question was, is it possible to combine any desired centering with any desired projection? And what that means, I'll explain it in the next section, in the projection section. Right. So for that, I would make a step back to understand what a projection really is. So actually, it's a transformation from a ball surface to a plane. When you think that transformation in a cartographical sense, you transform a globe into a two-dimensional world map. For this transformation, you need a mathematical algorithm, and in cartography, this algorithm is actually a projection. And there's a broad variety of projections. As you see here some examples, and all these projections have their characteristics and are responsible for some, for example, distortions. I tried it to show it here. So I highlighted the Antarctic ice of 3 different projections, and you see how different these distortions look like. So now to the crucial point to our idea is most world maps are orientated along, I have to describe it in a different way. So let's think about the Great Circle. So you see here the conventional world map, here an unconventional world map, and all what we do is we shift a great circle. A great circle is always the biggest circle around the ball, like the equator or any meridian. And what we do is we just shift this great circle, and then we use the same transformation, and then we get completely other distortions. So what is important to understand is that to get an unconventional world map, we use the same conventional transformation. So it's nothing is invented or distorted by coincidence or somehow like that. It's actually just really the centering. And now, what projection should you use when you design a world map, or maybe for data visualization? The thing is, as I said, there is a broad range of different projections. And for world maps, I suggest mostly compromise projections. So maybe you're familiar with this type of projections. In classical cartography, you have cylindrical, conical, and azimuthal projections. And then compromise projection is in German, for all German-speaking people here, it's actually a Kartennetzentwurf. So it's not a real projection anymore. Because these projections are optimized in some regions. Here I have some like 4 projections which are very often used and are to recommend for world maps. Like the Winkel triple is actually very old. Then the natural Earth is from 2007, is a newer one. The Robinson is probably the most famous one. And yeah, I mean, I don't want to say there is one best one. There is a broad range, and you find some description on the world map generator, but there are also some compendium from Esri, for example, but also some others. And Benjamin will post some links I brought together where you can read about the use of projections. So the use is also always very depending on zoom level and the location you want to depict. And now you come up with the question, why is always this Web-Mercator projection used? And for that, I hand over to our technician.
Yeah, basically, I don't know why it is used, but if you think of all the big projects and smaller projects that are leading in the internet, for example, Google Maps, OpenStreetMap, and Mapbox, they are all using Web-Mercator, and this is a de facto standard for displaying the world map. And this is problematic because it creates that whole ecosystem which makes it really hard to get out of, because it doesn't stop at these big services, but also on this ecosystem that is built around it. For example, data like map data or route data, or yeah, basically everything that is geolocation often is already pre-projected into Web-Mercator. So if you want to display it in a different projection, you have to go all the way to take your data, reproject it on a bowl surface, not bowl, on a sphere, and then you can project it into another projection. So if you want to do something with maps, you can have it the hard way, or you can play it like the easy way that all those companies and all those open source projects already do. So it's really hard to break free from this one. And yeah, that's the problem. And this de facto standards proliferates itself because it's so, yeah, dominating.
Okay. Then we come to the software itself. Also here we have some comments.
Like Turdy, a really cool website, especially that I can take my generated vector map and print it out for me.
Or it's just Gizmo. Wow, this is actually incredible. it's easy to use and explains everything. Here's the thing, I have no real education or proper understanding of all the shit I just clicked on, but there was a description of or information to hold my hands through that process. Really, really nice.
Then another opinion from Macoon. What is this good for?
And ultra casual Londoner, I don't get the point of this. It's just a regular map. So different opinions. Just very quick, I can't show everything and I can't mention everything, but I just picked some points. So here are our aims for the website. So you can generate your own world map from your viewpoint. For that, you go through a wizard and you have different steps like centering, projection, geolayers, zoom, and design. In a second point, you can challenge your viewpoint. For that, you follow stories of these three persons. This is Roald Amundsen. He set foot on South Pole the first time. It was 1911. This is Jack the Sailor. He traveled around the globe on the boat of Captain Cook and discovered New Zealand. And this is Sibylla Merian. She traveled actually very early, around 1700 to Suriname for her research. And to the third point, at the end, you can export your world map and you can also export it as vector data, what allows you to post process your own world map in any desired program. So I'll start with the intro we made. So for us, it was important that you get an idea of the topic, a bit intuitive, that is not like this cartographic style tool with a lot of descriptions and forms. So this is an animation to make to present the topic a bit intuitive. And then you choose, for example, your viewpoint.
And so the first step is the centering. We wanted to give you many options to move this center, for example, with a globe, like a real life globe that you can turn around how you want. You can use sliders. You can even set your center or enter a location where you are, or you can even click on the last button and do that gives you your current location.
Yeah. So, and live it looks like that. So you aufdecken, you discovered you discovered the first step, and then you can move the globe live, or you can also move on the map. You can shift parameters, or you can enter a location, like for example, Colorado. Which one? Colorado, USA. Yeah. Okay, and then it's centered on Colorado. Genau.
Also on the projection step, you have several angles to use to choose your projection. For example, something more scientific, like filtering by the type of projection. Something that is more visual, like the shape of the projection, or you can just choose browse through the list and choose the one you like.
This looks like that. So you have here, this main categories. When I'm here, I can, for example, in compromise projections, I have more options to choose, and then I change projections and I get a little description to the projection. So there you see if this projection makes sense to use for a world map.
And then you can also choose your design. This is mainly also to break free from certain ideas that you have in your head that land masses must be brown and water must be blue.
Here I just click through different options. These are a bit the more classical ones. And here you have
more the disco ones.
Genau. Okay. So on this, I just make it very quick, just show it very short. You can see that on the website itself. I mentioned these 3 personas already. These are the stories of these personas. That's, for example, Sibylla, Merian. You have a wizard, which guides through the story. Here is the storytelling part. And then you see the route where this persona traveled. So then I hand over to Rouven.
Yeah, we also had some feedback on the technology side. For example, Fred Astaire, who said, "Thank you for the cool maps. Finally, a good idea and also well done on the technical level."
And then Blackbird, "This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen here."
So very different opinions also on this one. I won't go into many details. I just wanted to say, and I just want you to remember that this project wouldn't have been possible, not even remotely, when it comes without open source technology. So we really build on the shoulders of giants here. And that's a really important thing for me and for us, for the project as well, to notify. So there are 2 main parts of the app. First, the single page app. This is all the things that you already have seen. And there are some smaller things that are done in the PHP part that are just not possible in this realm of single page applications. So the project is built with Vue.js. This is a common library and application framework to display content, transfer data between components, and also most importantly, make reusable components so that I don't have to write code twice or thrice. Nuxt.js is an application framework on top of Vue.js. You can think of it like a framework that bundles solution for common problems that come with single page applications on the web. For example, static file generation, which is really cool because it has advantages when it comes to search engine optimization. And yeah, that means that every page is rendered, pre-rendered for you. So we can easily deploy it on a platform called Netlify. Netlify is also a platform that is mostly free if you don't do crazy things. And yeah, basically it works like that. I build the app, I create a package that consists of all the static files, and I can upload it to Netlify, and there it works like a charm for the moment. And Netlify has also a content management system that we are using, and this is also free. And it's not the best management system in the world, of course, but it helped us tremendously when it comes to managing translations and content of the application. Then there's the other part, the PHP part. And there is a big disclaimer, I'm not a PHP developer, so don't try to hack it. Basically, it was an afterthought because I realized, okay, not everything is possible within the single page application. For example, something that I really wanted to create was a sharing page that you can see a preview of the map that you created. And this is just not possible with a statically generated website. So what I also did was a gallery page where you can see the all the maps that are already created, which is also very cool to see how creative people can be. The core of the website is, of course, the world map viewer. You can see it basically on every page you open. It's in the intro where it's sort of a teaser. It does morph on this page. You can see it on the rotation wizard step, even twice, as a globe and as a preview. And also on every persona page where there are also specialized layers that show the route the persona takes. They are also projected in the projection. And they also have another design that is not used in the custom map wizard. Also very important to say here is D3. This is also an open source project, and it really helped with all the things related to projections, to display the maps. And without the work of these authors, it wouldn't have been possible. I would have needed to create every projection by myself, and that wouldn't have been feasible in the time. So also big thanks to D3. Also D3 Inertia and Zoom, which helped with the interaction parts of the map. So you can drag and drop everything, you can zoom in, zoom out, and that helped also very much. The rendering adapter is a little bit of code that I had to write myself. D3 can render Svg and Canvas, but there are a few subtle differences that are different when you render Svg and when you render Canvas. So it's important when clipping occurs, and also for things like fills and strokes. So the map display differs a little bit when you render it in Svg and in Canvas. For those who don't know the difference between Svg and Canvas, I can explain it shortly. Svg is good for static display, so you render it once and leave it alone. Canvas is better when you always have to re-render it when many inputs come after another. For example, when morphing or when you drag and drop the map. And Svg is better when you want to, for example, hover on Australia and the color should change. And of course, the most important one, Svg is good for vector export, and Canvas is for exporting pixel-based formats like JPEG and PNG. So just quickly, how the pipeline works when you, for example, drag the globe until the map changes. As I said, Vue.js allows you to create different components, also different inputs that, for example, I could create a globe component, I create a slider component, input fields and buttons. And the output of these UI elements are always just numbers, for example, when it comes to rotation. This is put into a store. This is a Vuex store. This is glorified word for a bucket for data. And but it has some nice additions to it, like throttling. That means that when data changes really quick, it is throttled down so that the UI doesn't overheat, as to speak. And also data sanitation when you enter things that just can't be displayed. And this store is like the single source of truth, and the viewer receives those data and renders your map.
So, and as a result, you mentioned it already, so we have this gallery. So you can click through all the generated world maps.
If you've already generated the world map, it's already there, I guess.
Genau, orthografisch. And different designs. So for us, it's just very nice to see yeah, the whole variety of all these possibilities. So now at the very end, we had successes and also some fails. Maybe
Yeah.
you start with the fail.
The biggest, I wouldn't say it's a failure, but it's just a restriction of the project and of the data that is available to us. One thing that I would have loved to do is a more detailed map data. So we only have not that accurate data, and we can't do labelings yet. So this is a little bit of a drawback because we had to rely on natural earth data, which is open source. And we would have loved to have more granular data, for example, when you zoom in.
But on the other hand, the good thing is there were a lot of maps actually generated, and the engagement time is quite high, and it means that people really go through the wizard and generate their map until the end. So we are at the end of our presentation. We thank you for your attention, and let's keep in contact. And now we're ready for questions and comments.
Thank you very much, Julia and Rouven. It was a great presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much also for going into the details, the technical details. It shows like really how much work actually goes in this kind of project. So it's great to see also this. Yeah, I think it's a really cool a really cool tool. And what I like about it from a UX perspective is that you really compel users to make all these choices before they can create a map. So like it's impossible to rely on defaults. I think it's really a great way to convey your point that a map is a world view also. I think it's really cool. So in the chat we have some comments from Paolo saying it's a really nice resource for teaching map projections. So,
it's actually also very often used. I see where it plops up on Google Analytics, and when we put the new version online, we got some emails from universities. So it's actually very often used for that.
Really cool. Yeah, he also Paolo also mentions that it's a great entry point for non-cartographers to understand projections. And he also mentioned that it's that he really liked the casual sketch style design. You can add those to your screenshots of comments about it. We also have a few questions in the Q&A.
Shoot.
Let's go. So we have a question from Thomas van der Linden asking, do you plan to include an option for visitors to add their own data?
Yeah, that's also something we really like to add. Basically, it's the same problem that I mentioned in our presentation, that the data needs to be in spherical coordinates, but that is really high on our list of things that we want to create, that users can add their data layers, and for example add customized routes, for example, where they traveled on the world. That would be really cool for us to do.
And generally for all data visualizations, I mean, when you can combine a location with any desired graphic element, so this would be super cool. Hopefully the next step.
Yeah.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, Paolo also asked if there are any plans to have a geo-referenced output for instance, GeoTIFF or GeoJSON?
Not the other way around.
Not sure about this. So you mean like the data that is projected, an export of this?
I guess something like this that you can reuse in a GIS. So I don't know. I'm assuming.
Yeah. Never thought about this one. We can really think about that.
So when I understand it right, it's actually the other way around as the first question. So you don't depict the data in our tool, so you export the data and use it in another tool to map data. Yeah, so let's think about that. Thank you. Yeah.
I guess we already do this, already need to do this to display the maps. So I guess exporting the data would be a matter of choosing the right format and then making it available. So I guess in my head it sounds easy, but that can change when I'm trying to create it.
Next step then. Yeah, we have also another question from Paolo. When you continuously reproject behind the scenes, for instance, when people change the aspect center point of the projection, are you using the latitude longitude pairs or the projected XY pairs?
I think that's a thing that D3 already handles for me. So when I resize the browser, for example, I don't know if I understood it correctly, but when I resize or make the browser window smaller, the canvas or the element changes, and then the coordinates are just re-rendered. So it starts from the beginning. So I get a new width, a new height. I see that these two things changed, and then the whole thing will be re-rendered in the new window that is resized.
Thanks. And we have another question from Irma, and she asks what or which user group you were targeting as end users.
It's actually a very good question because we are asked that a lot, and when we developed the tool, we tried to define, or we defined it as well, the target audience. But actually, it's very broad. For sure, it's a tool for also for an educational purpose. It's also very often used in this context. But I mean, we get feedback from the old retired professor, or not even professor, also any person from the not just the cartographic community. It's actually cartography and maps. A lot of people are interested where they are in space or on Earth. So it's actually very broad, and that's also why we did this that interactive, that a lot of people just, when you don't understand it, you just play around and you get another worldview. When you understand it, even better. So it's actually very broad.
Yeah, for me that was a really interesting aspect of the project, because every person on the world has a point where this person is, and so everyone can use this tool, and everyone has a perspective, an opinion on this, and so yeah, you can decide which user target group you want to focus on. But for me, the beautiful thing is that every person on the world, it's a little bit, yeah. So everybody can use it.
Yeah.
It's really cool, because yeah, for everybody it's something different. So yeah, it's like Julia said, it's an educational tool, but also something really personal and explorative, and I think that's one part of the beauty of the project.
And the thing is, we for sure we had that in mind, and we knew that this target audience is broad, so everyone should know how to go through the wizard, but we were not forced to do it for one audience because it's funded by foundations, so we don't have like now any expectations or
there are no stakeholders to say you need to make money out of this, so you don't need a target group and KPIs. That's cool for a change.
Yeah.
Pretty cool, yeah. We have a question also from Alice asking if the über Projektionen, I guess there is a page or like a section like this, if it exists in other languages.
It's your on projection, yeah. Über Projektionen.
Ah, it's your book, yeah, of course.
If it's available in other languages.
In other languages, yes.
No, unfortunately not. But at least it's open access. Maybe a translator helps or something. No, but unfortunately not. It's in German, yeah. But it's just to mention, it's on transcript. You get it easily.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's a good reason to learn German. So, and we have another question from Eric. He asked, there are purposes behind the way to project data. For instance, the projection fits to show a certain area and a certain scale. I wonder if you are going to add more information on why certain projections are used in specific contexts.
Okay, I'm not sure if I understood right, but I understood the question like this: if there are more descriptions for different zoom levels, which projection you should use. Actually, we really focused on world maps, but when you're really straight, then you should say, okay, conical projection, you never use it for world maps, so it doesn't make sense to include them, for example, because that's for regional maps. I decided to do it because it just explains the transformation and also this projection types. So we try to have these descriptions in this projection section, or the second step of the wizard is the projection step. There you see when it makes sense to use for a world map. Or I guess also by the conic projection, then you see, okay, it's more for regional maps. So yeah, it's very specific, and there is also a link Benjamin shared, I guess. It's the adaptive composite projection from Bernhard Jenny. There you have a diagram where you could move like parameters according to zoom level and location, and it gives you the right projection, for example. So let's say we have it until a certain point for world maps, but not for any case. Yeah, sorry.
And also there it's a little bit subjective, right? So there's not a perfect projection for every use case. Or would you?
Yeah, I would say there are some they are really okay and some they are not, but there are a lot of different ones. Like as I said, for world map you can choose Robinson or Natural Earth, and for regional maps is Google Mercator projection completely okay, or a Mercator projection in general.
Mm-hmm. Are you saying like there are no good or bad projection, but it's more like it depends on your purpose, on what you do with it?
I would say it depends on the zoom level and on the location. Yeah. But there you have a broad variety, and I'm not a big fan to say there is one common standard and just one projection for this use. I guess you should have an idea of what projection in which zoom level and on what location, but then you're quite free. So yeah, it's a bit this article I presented. It doesn't make sense to talk about the best worldview, best projection. So.
Good, thanks. So we have more questions. One from Katarina. She asks, do you have plans to add more map style options or make it customizable to a certain degree?
Map style options.
Yeah, map style options. So I guess like the disco one or the more traditional one. Or...
Good questions. Thanks for asking that. Actually, yeah, it was a question of time. We wanted to do more options, but we decided to do this radio button selection options because when you're a graphic designer or familiar with some Adobe or other programs, so you can just download it in SVG and then
style it yourself.
Yeah, genau.
But yeah, we really want to do more designs for the world map. And it's also high on our priority list to add more.
Actually, it needs more time, or it needs a lot of time, because you can choose the geo layers first, and then you have another combination of designs when you choose the options later. So actually, it's quite complicated. It looks very simple, but it depends really what you have chosen before. So that was a bit the issue. But yeah, I would like to work on that for sure.
Like as a follow-up question, are you continuing developing this project?
Oh, now we have to think about that, because I mean, I say it now since 9 years that I let it be. So, and now, I mean, things like this design options, why not to do that? Or also to think about the input of Paolo, was his name, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, it really makes sense. And we have very often the feeling that there is a step like this and we have completely new options.
Yeah, I mean, during the development, we gathered our ideas on a special board, and the list just grew longer. And now we have a giant list, and we're at the end of the project. And it would be a shame to just leave it like this. So we have to, but we have to prioritize our time and what we really want to insert next. But I think it's there's gonna be more development on it.
The curse of all successful projects to have a backlog that keeps increasing, right? It's a good sign in a way, I guess.
Yeah.
So we have just a comment right now from Paolo saying, "Do it." So continue developing this.
Thanks.
And we also have 2 more comments from Eric. He says, "Natural Earth has data in different scale, set in different file sizes. You could obtain more details by using the, I don't know how to say this, 110 million data set, like the scale, a different scale. But I assume the amount of data processed is too huge for your application."
I'm not 100% sure, but I think I've used the most detailed, but I would have to check. It's also a matter of data heaviness. So how much can I put on my website until a browser crashes, or if I'm going to the website on a mobile device, I might not want to download 100 megabytes of data. So that's also this problem. When I go into the concept of tiling, it's gonna be really, really difficult suddenly. So yeah, there's always this trade-off of how easy is it made and how detailed can it be. And so we found a solution for this development step. But when we go further, we need to complicate things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we also have a last comment from Eric saying, I wonder if you can add some projection details to choose from to add to azimuthal or cylindrical, like equal area projection, as in the Peters projection.
Sorry, what was the last? The Peters projection? What?
Yeah, so I think he wonders if you can add projection details to choose from, like other, like for instance, equal area projection as an option, I think, like as a filter of the projections.
I understand. He means like a filter.
No, I think there are like configuration parameters for certain projections. For example, the star projections, you could choose how many Berghaus, how many Zacken, how many of those pointy things there are.
Yeah, okay. There are some tools you can, configure these aspects, right?
Yeah.
Actually, it's also a bit a question, especially with this projection step, how many details we wanted to include, because it became super difficult. Actually, we had after a UX test, we had to revise to simplify the whole projection part. So I guess for our broad target audience, this would have been
endless.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And how to manage that in a good interface. Yeah.
It would be really cool, but also there is a trade-off. How many people even find those projections, and how many people lack those options? I before starting this project, I didn't even know that there is a star projection, a Peters projection. So I was happy with 5 stars, really.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, I think it's true that like it's important to keep in mind that like the simplicity of your tool, I think, is very important. And maybe if you add too many options, it ends up being like a full GIS. Okay, cool. Thank you very much. So we are like at the end of our meetup. So I want to really thank you, you two, Julia and Rouven, a lot for your presentation and the answer to the questions. Very insightful. And also thank you to all the audience for your participation and your questions. I think that's great. So like before saying goodbye, we want to always ask if you have any feedback or suggestions for our meetup. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me or to Benjamin. You can find us on Meetup, on Twitter, on Instagram. So at DatavisZRH, this is our handle for these accounts. And yes, also I can announce the next meetup that will be on Tuesday, April 20. It will be about network visualizations as a design attitude, and we will have Dario Ruggiero who will talk about this topic. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for your participation all, and see you next time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.